What's the closest you've ever been to dying? Today's the anniversary of the day my life almost ended, and nobody seems to care, so I'm sharing what happened. I was in the passenger seat with my brother and his friend when BAM! I heard this explosion and a scream that sounded like a dying animal. Then I realized, crap, that scream was me. My head and shoulder were killing me. I couldn't move my arm and had no idea what was going on, since the car was still moving. Finally, I managed to open my eyes, even with glass in them, and saw this huge hole in the windshield right in front of me. Later, I found out some jerk decided to drop a big rock off the bridge onto a car, and it was our car. If I hadn't been playing Pokemon Go and looking to the left, that rock would have hit me square in the head. It hit the side of my head and then bounced onto my shoulder. I called 911 because I knew I only had minutes to call my husband and say goodbye before my brain swelled and I died. He picked up right away, and he made me promise we'd still dance in the rain. My brother pulled off the highway, and the ambulance met us at the exit. That's when I started shaking violently, like a seizure. Turns out I was going into shock. I remember lying there, seeing the flashing lights, and then EMTs and cops, and behind them, my husband. He looked so calm and loving. He's always been my rock. He didn't want my last sight to be him freaking out. I smiled at him and tried to focus on not passing out. I thought about my best friend, who living nearby of the past 10 years that we spent together, how everything with him had gone to poop because of his addiction. I thought about my parents. The EMTs were struggling to get me onto the stretcher since I had glass all over my neck, and they couldn't put a brace on. My neck didn't hurt, so I figured it wasn't broken. I held my head still, looked straight ahead, got up, and laid myself on the stretcher. It was all we could do. My husband just stood there quietly. I looked at him and told him everything would be okay. Who knew those might be my last words? In the ambulance, a cop was taking photos of me and my messed up shoulder for the investigation. Of course, they never caught the guy who dropped the rock. Crime's out of control in this city. Once I was strapped in, my husband got in the front seat and called my parents. My mom didn't answer, so he called my dad, who's always been a jerk and wouldn't care if I lived or died. He picked up, and my husband handed me the phone through the little window. I told him what happened, and he was just annoyed. He said it was 11 p.m., and they had to get up early. Mom was already in bed. I told him I might not have a tomorrow and just wanted to talk to Mom. He huffily gave her the phone, and I could hear him yelling at her to hurry up in the background as she complained about the time. I told my mom what happened, but lied and said I'd be fine. I said I wanted to send her the pictures of the scene and my injuries. She complained her phone was plugged in the bathroom and she was already in bed. Finally, she looked and her reaction was like, I told her I got a fish hook in my thumb. She just said, okay, I'm going back to bed now. I have to get up early. Rest up. When we got to the ER, it was packed. They didn't even put a mask on me before wheeling me in. I was probably gonna die anyway, so I guess it didn't matter. I lay in that bed feeling like I'd been run over for hours. Nobody washed the glass out of my eyes or checked on me after the x-rays and CT scans. They refused to give me anything for the pain and finally showed up an hour later with some Tylenol. I think I laughed. My husband stayed with me, just calmly talking. I realized this was my life in a nutshell. My husband was the only one there as I lay there thinking I might die, and I'd never felt so alone. After the x-rays, I called my best friend of 9 years, who lived 5 minutes away. I told him what happened, and he freaked out, asking if I wanted him to come. How was I supposed to answer that? I said, if you want to. Was broke, so I told him we'd give him a ride, but he was a no-show. After an hour, my husband texted him, and he said he was just hopping in the shower. It hit me hard. The test came back, and somehow I didn't break anything or get brain damage. I wasn't happy. All I got was major bruising and soft tissue damage. Before this, I dealt with thoughts of ending my life, bad PTSD from horrible stuff that happened, a past attempt, and other ongoing issues, both mental and physical. I was angry that I survived. I knew I'd be stuck with this forever, while everyone else, except my husband, would forget it in days. Just another messed up thing for me to relive every day until I die. Great. When I was discharged, I texted my best friend not to bother coming because I was going home. The next couple of weeks, I spent them in bed, in the dark, mostly sleeping and crying for those few awake hours. I tried to get attention to the assaults and started a petition to get the city to put up nets or something, anything, because we were all playing Russian roulette. There were over 200 assaults that summer, just like mine. It was pointless. People online just made fun of me. I left the house once for a news interview after my Facebook post about the assault went up. I ended up on the news twice and on the radio once. Some stranger commented on Facebook that he was tired of hearing about women with trauma and PTSD and that I should stop self-diagnosing. I'm professionally diagnosed, FYI. He said I was just soft and needed to get over it because no one cares. People have questioned my story. Locals have stopped me on the street, saying I didn't look like my head was hit that hard. My story has been dismissed over and over. My brother's girlfriend asked if I was sure I was actually hit and why it affected me so much, since it was just a bruise. Hundreds of people told me how lucky I was I didn't get permanent injuries or die, how I should be grateful, you know? Out of millions of cars, mine got hit, and the rock landed right on my head. Nobody gets how messed up it is to be told you're lucky after something like this. Nobody understands how insensitive it is to say that to someone who went through this, and because they mean the best, I just have to suck it up, say thank you, and get yelled at for complaining. My husband, my high school sweetheart, my caregiver whom I've spent half my life with, stayed strong for me for so long, and I feel terrible about it. But after 5 months, he broke down for a couple of weeks. He tried not to make it about him, but he's struggling too. He drove so fast to the hospital that night because he wanted to see me alive one last time. In the 2 weeks after, I ate a few pieces of meat one day. That's it. 1 meal in 2 weeks. I felt like if I left that bed, I wouldn't be safe. Ever since then, when I leave the house, I expect to get attacked again. My ex-bestie, who's an alcoholic, couldn't even give me a reason why he didn't show up. After all the stuff I found out about him and how bad he was doing before I cut him out. I'm not surprised. That's a story for another time. If he reads this, F you. You're the worst friend ever and just a useless person. Months later, he stayed at my place to help while I was about to be hospitalized for my eating disorder and stole hundreds of dollars, weed, and alcohol from us to feed his addiction. That was the last straw. My parents never called to see if I was okay. After a couple of months, my mom flipped out because I wouldn't fly across the country on 1 day's notice to put down her dog, regardless of what I was dealing with, because she couldn't handle it. I lost it when she asked me. She hadn't visited when I was at death's door in the hospital. It was ridiculous that she was annoyed that I couldn't afford a $600 plane ticket to fly out the next day to put her dog down when... So, I was about to have guests over, but she told me that my dad and her getting mad was my fault. Apparently, I sounded too chill on the phone. After that, we didn't speak for months. Turns out she got diagnosed with something that messes with her head shortly after, so maybe I shouldn't be so angry. She did say sorry eventually, and I let her back in my life. After almost dying, I also lost my best friend and parents for a while. My brother's never been great with feelings. When I told him I thought the reality of what happened would suck the next day, he just looked at me confused. He said he wouldn't be sad if it were him. I just couldn't even explain it. For the next year, my eating issues got way worse. I kept replaying the accident over and over. Any noise in the kitchen made me think of glass breaking, and every car ride, overpass, or even seeing a car was a trigger. It took forever to get back on the freeway, and driving back from the city, I have to go under the place where it almost happened. The person who did it never got caught. Life just goes on, and I'm stuck in my head with it all. My husband's the only one who gets it. And don't even ask about therapy. That's a whole other mess. I look fine, just some hidden scars, like a healthy, happy woman. But today, I told my mom I was sad because it was the day I almost died. She said it's not an anniversary, just something to forget. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stories on this channel.